my wife had gotten her first teaching job and was away for the evening doing some activities at school to prepare for her new job. And I was home with Ben and Jacob. Ben is our older son. And they were both taking a nap. And as I was preparing to get a bottle around for Jake, excuse me, I went back to get him up and found him unresponsive in the crib, and at that time called 911 and did CPR until the medics arrived and they took over for me.
Came out my door. I see my daughter running down the street, and my son Jamal was standing right across the street a few feet. And I see him just standing there, and I said, "Son, son," and he had a blank look on his face, and my heart was beating so fast. And I go across the street, I get in his face, I say, "Son," and the blood started gushing from his head like a fountain of water. And I put my hand over the hole, and I took my baby down to the ground. And it took a long time for the ambulance to come.
My son, Scott, when he was 29, he died of a drug overdose. My daughter my 10-year-old grandson found him. My daughter tried CPR. Ambulance came. They kept his heart going. We went to General Hospital, and he was put on life support. This happened on a Saturday night. Sunday, they talked to my ex-husband about probably no brain function. And he said, "Don't tell her yet, let's give it another day." So on Monday, they came to me and asked if we had ever considered organ donation.
So they give you this itemized list of what you can donate, and I'm still crying. And I said to them, I said, "This feels like y'all bees over honey. You know, y'all swarm right on in, and you know, and this hurts. And it feels like that." I would like to tell people it's okay to feel like that until you get educated. Because you feel like they're just telling you your loved one is gone, and these people's coming in and swarming in because you don't know the timing is of the essence, but you don't know that at the time. So when I donated everything but his skin. Had I known what I know now, I would have donated that too. But, you know, and they said because after all of that, they was like, you know, you have to, it's just timing, somebody's waiting and you got to get the organ to the recipient, all that. And you still really don't want to hear that at the time. You don't. The thing that really popped in my head at that precise moment was my son was such a giver and he loved people. He would want me to do it.
We sat down with him and Jake's doctor and we talked about what could possibly be done. And Jake was so young, there were very few organs that were required of children that age, which in a way is, you know, a nice thing to hear. But they discovered fairly quickly that there was a match for his heart. And Joe explained to us there's different levels of organ donation as far as, you know, when you have somebody, sometimes they can only donate tissue and sometimes they could do organs and tissue and then sometimes they can actually donate the heart. And in order to donate a heart, the heart still needs to be beating, which is why Jake was a good candidate because he was on life support. And even though he was brain dead, he still had a healthy beating heart. And it was really, I think that was the hardest part for us, is knowing that he would have to go into surgery with a beating heart, even though he was gone for all intents and purposes. It was difficult at first to come to that decision. But when they told us there was a little boy in Iowa who was 2 weeks old that needed a heart and it was a match, I think we decided fairly quickly then that we would go ahead and donate his heart. And he was also able to donate both of his corneas.
The donor network came in within hours to the hospital, and they stayed with us the whole time until they took Scott to the operating room. It took probably, from the time he came into the hospital to the time they took him to the OR, it was 4 days. But it was It was wonderful 4 days because we could be with him and it wasn't a sudden goodbye. People could come and say goodbye to him. And even though he had no brain function, he was still warm and breathing, you know, so those 4 days are cherished.
The nurses, the social worker, Dr. Deshay, I know he did everything that he could humanly possibly do. And I know that's their job, but I feel that they went above because they would come in the room and they would say, Jamar, we're brushing your teeth, Jamar, we're going to stick you in the leg, Jamar, we're going to do this to you. And they would always act like he was a human still, and they know he was gone. And that touched my heart a whole lot.
Well, you know, we always have hope. And when I knew that really there was no hope of him surviving and being a viable person, I thought, what a great gift to somebody that we could give the gift of life to so many people.
The thing I think for me that I find extremely comforting and helpful through all this is knowing that even though Jake died, his heart is still beating. So there's a part of him that is still alive and thriving. And every single day, Becca may not realize it, but he's grateful for that heart, even if he can't articulate it at almost 4 years old. And his parents are so grateful, and their extended family is so grateful. And because of that, Jake is never really gone. And it's very comforting.
I can hear my son's heart beating just sitting next to him. I mean, after all, my son was only 28 and Bob was 69. And Bob took my hand and put my hand on his chest. You want to feel your son's heart? And I just felt my son's heart beating in him. And in no way did I have any regrets. I was so excited, happy that Bob suffered since he was 36 years old. And I was happy that he could really live now. And so with this, I speak to him every week now. We just like family. And I love them and they love me. It's amazing how it all happened.